Hello and hola, all my beautiful planty friends. If you love Aglaonema and everything Aglaonema related, but you struggle with their care, this is a video that you do not want to miss. This is the Aglaonema video of all videos, okay? So, stay tuned. You're gonna love it. Hey y'all, my name is Chula. Welcome to my channel, Hooked on Houseplants, where I invite you and yours to get hooked on houseplants too. All right, so today we're going to be talking about all things Aglaonema. Now, if you all have been watching my channel for a while, you already know that Aglaonema is one of my favorite genus of plants. I love Aglaonema for their variety. I mean, you can get Aglaonema in every shape, color, size, and for the most part, they're relatively cost friendly. The more basic varieties like your Silver Bay, your Siam, ones like that. Now, if you have more of an expensive caviar taste when it comes to Aglaonema, then yes, the prices can go up for the more exotic and different hybrids. Okay, but for the most part, for the basic varieties, you're not going to pay that much money, and you can find actually a lot of the basic varieties in your big box stores. Okay, so I also love Aglaonema because they are relatively easy to care for. I don't think except for one Aglaonema, my Aglaonema have virtually been pest free. So I don't really struggle with pests when it comes to my Aglaonema. So I love them for all those reasons and more, but to be honest, lately I have been struggling with some of my Aglaonema. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you how I care for my Aglaonema, and this is just part one. Okay, so today in part one, I'm just going to show you my more difficult Aglaonema that I have struggled with and what I'm doing now to get them back to their thriving beauty. And I also will be sharing with you things like lighting, fertilization, all of that good stuff. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you is where I keep them, how much light they usually receive, so you can kind of get a good idea of how much light they need. Of course, you know, this is my setting, so everybody's environment is different. So I'm just showing you how much light that I typically give my Aglaonema. So we're going to get up and I'm going to take you around so you can see their lighting conditions. Okay? All right, come on, y'all. All right, so I know that y'all have seen this little section time and time again. This is where I keep a good portion of my Aglaonema. Down here on this bottom shelf, there is a grow light. You know, it's not, wait a minute, let me adjust this so you can see. Okay, it's not the best grow light, but it does the job. I feel like it does the job for these Aglaonema down here. As you can see, they do get a decent amount of light. So quite a few of my Aglaonema collection are down here. But they also benefit from the light that is coming from this grow light that kind of shines down, excuse me, on them, so they get a little bit of the benefit from this grow light as well. So this is kind of what it looks like during the day, how much light they're receiving. Okay, then I have another group of Aglaonema over here. And so this is kind of like medium light, definitely not high light, and I wouldn't call it low light either. I would definitely say medium. But I also have this grow light turned off, but I'm gonna show you what it looks like when it's turned on. Okay, so you see that bright light? Because I do have a couple of Aglaonema on this shelf as well. And then my husband took down a portion of the plastic so you can see the light that comes through from outside as well. So yes, that is what this section is looking like. I have a large grouping of Aglaonema here as well as over here. These Aglaonema these are grow light bulbs that are in the fan. So they get a little bit of light from those grow light bulbs. But as you can see, it is not high light conditions at all. I would definitely say medium. And they seem to do fine with that. Okay, so now since you have seen some of the lighting conditions, I'm going to show you one by one some of the more challenging Aglaonema, and like I said, what I have done to, I guess, remedy the challenge. All right. Okay, y'all, so I have noticed that a lot more people are really getting into Aglaonema. I hear so many people say that Aglaonema is a very underrated plant or genus of plant, and I agree 1000%. So it is making me so very happy to see that more of you planty people are really getting into or hopping onto the Aglaonema bandwagon. I don't even blame you. But you'll be surprised to know that even though Aglaonema is one of my favorite genus, I would say that I struggle with more of them than not. You would be surprised to know that. I have definitely had my struggles, and it's okay. It's okay. We all struggle. So I hope that some of these tips that I share with you can help you with your Aglaonema, because it's very worth it. It's very worth it because they are very beautiful and rewarding plants. Okay, so the first one we're going to start with, y'all don't even laugh. Do not even laugh, because see, y'all be laughing. Okay, I know y'all are like, what is that? What is that? What is that, Chula? Well, it's supposed to be an Aglaonema renjani. That is what it's supposed to be. Now, I got this starter plant from the Green Escape. I want to say about 6 or 7 months ago. And from the very beginning, this plant has been a challenge for me. Excuse me. it immediately started shedding leaves, like right off the bat. They were very small leaves. I think it may have came with 3 leaves, and they just gradually, one by one, just rotted and came off. So I don't know what the problem was. This is my theory. I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. Starter plants can be a challenge to really get them established and growing and thriving. I have gotten several Aglaonema starter plants that have not made it. I don't know what it is, um, but I struggle with a lot. I have struggled with more of the different or more exotic variety of Aglaonema that have been starter plants. So this one, like I said, is supposed to be the Rinjani. It looks like it's obviously it looks like it's trying to do something. Uh, so I'm hopeful that little by little it will start to grow. I am tempted. I don't know if you can see those roots there. They're almost like what are they called? Almost like aerial roots. That's what they kind of look like to me. So I'm wondering if this plant will benefit from being repotted further down into the soil, into the substrate, so that more of these aerial roots can be down into the substrate. So I am going to try that to see. But yes, this one I have struggled with. I just, do what I can with this plant and keep it moving. I have it under good light. So yeah, that's all I can say about this one. I will keep you updated if things change. But as you can see, it does look like it's trying to do something. So that that gives me hope. Okay, so the next one, I will insert a picture of how this plant used to look in its former glory. This is the Maria Christina, y'all. This is what is left of my once luscious Maria Christina. This is what's left. And y'all, I promise you, I do not know what happened with this plant. It started just losing leaves one by one. The leaves were yellowing and they were coming off. It could possibly be that I may have been overwatering this plant, because I really can't. I think I looked at the roots. To be honest, y'all, I cannot remember if some of the roots were rotten or not. They probably were. But I remember taking this plant out of the substrate and putting it in water to try to get it to grow back. And it seemed like that did work until it didn't. It seemed like even when I put it in water with a little bit of Super Thrive, I think it did start to rot again. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pot this plant up and just see how it does. And if it makes it, great. If it doesn't, I tried. So as you can see, and that's been about 2 months ago when I repotted it. So it's in a, I'll say a moderately, no, yeah, I'll say a moderately chunky substrate. It's not as chunky as I used to have my substrate for my Aglaonema, because I was finding that some of them were experiencing root rot because the substrate was very chunky, I think too chunky in some cases, and they were drying out. And then when I would go to water them, the roots they were dry and they couldn't absorb the water, which can cause dry rot. So I have repotted the vast majority of my Aglaonema in a less chunky substrate. Some of the majority of them now are in a combination of Fox Farm uh, potting mix, as well as smaller perlite. If you all remember, I used to use those big pieces of perlite, but now I'm using a smaller, oops, a smaller perlite. And it also has just a little bit of bark, just a little bit of the orchid bark, and I'll say like a sprinkling of worm castings. So that is what I have been using for my Aglaonema. And as you can see, there is a grow point. There is a grow point. So she must be doing okay with her 3-leaf self. 1, 2, and 3. But that's okay, because like I said, she has another one coming, so I'm happy to see that. So this is the Maria Christina. Love the leaf. I love the how the leaf looks. Okay, so next on the list, y'all, this one has just gotten on my last nerves. I have been struggling with this plant since like summer of last year. This is this is what is supposed to be the World Heritage or World of Heritage. And I'm starting to wonder if that's what it really was. I think I may have gotten bamboozled. But anyway, let me tell you from jump, okay? From jump, this plant had root rot. When I received this plant, it had like 4 of the most large and beautiful leaves. I will insert a picture if I can find one. Some of you may remember because I have done several Aglaonema videos, and I know for a fact that I have showed this plant, and I have also featured this plant in the past as one of the ones that I have struggled with. So, excuse me. So from the beginning, I have been dealing with root rot with this plant. So the first thing that I did was I took it out of the substrate, and I had it in a very chunky substrate. But it still just was not, I noticed it only had like 4 leaves. And so I noticed that one of the leaves was beginning to yellow. So I took it out of the chunky substrate and saw that it was beginning to rot. So that was at the time, that was in my fluval stratum era. When in my eyes, fluval stratum could do no wrong. Put her in fluval stratum. She did very well in fluval stratum, but I think that I left her in there too long and the roots were beginning to rot again. So I took Miss Missy out of the fluval stratum, and I think I tried to reroot her again in water, because when I took her out of the stratum, most of the roots just sloughed right off. So I put her in water, cut back the roots. She started to grow more roots, and then I said, you know what? I'm not going to fool with this plant. The reason why I have fooled with this plant as long as I have is because it was not a cheap plant. It was an expensive plant. And so that is why I have hung in there with this plant. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pot her up, see how she does. And if she doesn't make it after that, then it's going to be time to say goodbye. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. But that's what's gonna happen with this one if she keep cutting up. So, as you can see, this is a new growth point. But that means nothing to me, because the leaves are kind of, what are they doing? You see how they're kind of curling? And so I don't know what that is about. I'm not going to take it out and look at the roots. I'm just not going to do it. So I'm happy to see this growth point. Hopefully this plant will start to do better. But I'm kind of over it with this one. Yeah. So if any of you, I thus far have not seen this particular Aglaonema in others' collections, but if you have this one, let me know what has been your experience with the World of Heritage or World Heritage Aglaonema. I would love to know. All right. Next up is the Aglaonema bicolor. Now, when I first showed this plant, it definitely was not looking like this. It was not. It had a whole lot more leaves. Like I said, some of these plants, just so I don't have to keep repeating myself, if I can insert a picture of what they were looking like before, I would do that. So this one was very leggy. It was losing its leaves. I mean, from what I've learned, legginess can be caused primarily by not getting sufficient enough light. I don't know if that's what was going on with this one, but it was very leggy. So I cut it up, cut the plant up, rooted some of the pieces. And this has been a while ago, y'all. This was like last year when I did this. So this is all that I have going on with this plant thus far. I think when I chopped it up, I think there may have been like 5 leaves left, but this is it. And I think this one might be the newer leaf. And then you got these two and then some growth points. But this one has been like this for the longest, so I'm just kind of waiting to see what it's going to do. But I think I said in a previous video that I'm not seeing this Aglaonema as much anymore. I'm seeing the tricolor, which I'll show you next. I've been seeing that one a lot more. But the bicolor, I'm just not really seeing. Oh, y'all look. See, I'm talking smack. And look at that little growth point down in there. Let me see. Do y'all see that little growth point right there? Okay. Okay, Miss bicolor. We'll see what you got. So that's another growth point too. So we'll see. We'll see how this one does. Okay. So since I was just talking about you, I guess I will show you next. This is the tricolor. Now, I'm just gonna be transparent. This is the second tricolor I have had. Okay. The last one did not make it. And I'm not even really for sure what happened. I think it was a root rot situation. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So with this one, and the reason why I say that is because this one, as soon as I got it, I put it in pond, I think, to try to avoid that happening again. So this one, I've had this plant, I believe for about 4 or 5 months. And from the get-go, like I said, I took it out of the substrate and put her directly into pond. And this plant has been doing very well for me in pond. Now this one, to me, and it could be just because it's in pond, it has been on the thirstier side. And I have heard other people say that they have struggled with this particular Aglaonema. And it could be that this particular plant prefers more water. It could be, don't quote me on it, but I will say, now that I'm talking about water, I would say that I would venture to say, because I'm not an Aglaonema expert, but what I have found is that it's better to err on the drier side with Aglaonema than giving them too much water. So I usually will let them dry probably half to three-fourths out before I rewater them, because I have had root rot issues. Um, I've had dry rot issues, but I think that I've had just regular rotting issues more than dry rot from overwatering. So Aglaonema, just like any other plant, they don't really like to be overwatered. You have to be careful with the watering, and I think that's why many of you struggle with Aglaonemas, because you're probably maybe overwatering them. With that being said, there are some Aglaonema that I have that they require more water. They like their water. And for me, this is one of them. This has been one of them. So, I will let the reservoir go dry for a couple of days before I add more water. But no more than about 3 or 4 days will I let it continue to be dry, because the leaves of this plant, they will start to droop, which lets me know that it needs more water. But it's a beautiful plant. If you have wanted this plant, now is the time, because the price point on this plant has gone down. This used to be a very expensive plant and you couldn't hardly find it. Now I basically see it everywhere. So if you like this plant, now is the time to get your hands on it. It's a beautiful plant, as you can see. Okay. So, that being said about the watering, like I said, I try to let the majority of them get about three-fourths of the way dry. And then, which is usually like every 3 weeks right now, since it's still spring. But I know that as the weather heats up, it probably will be more like every 2 weeks. And of course, I put them in the shower and I thoroughly drench them and I wash their leaves off. And since we're talking about watering, I'm gonna, y'all have heard me say this before, but for you all who are new to my channel, right now I have definitely stepped up my fertilization game. This is what I've been using, the Miracle Grow plant food. It is doing very well for my plants. It's working very well for my plants. So I think I put it's 1 teaspoon for every gallon of water. And then I've also still been using this. I will not be repurchasing this. This is a bioinsecticide, and it's supposed to prevent insect and mite buildup. But this has really done nothing to help my fungus gnat situation. And I'm going to show you something that I've been doing, that I have incorporated in the last couple of days. But I'm really not seeing the benefits of this one. But you know what? It could be helping with spider mites, because like I said, I've only had one plant really in the last month or so that has had spider mites. So I don't know. The jury is still out on this one. Let me know if you have used. I know some of my plant family have said that they use this or have used this, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about this one. Don't know if I'll repurchase, but I put 2 teaspoons per gallon of water. I also use 2 drops of this per gallon. This is the tap water conditioner. And I use 1 dropper full per gallon of the, y'all probably like, what is that? I don't know why, but why every time I buy Super Thrive, I always lose the top? Like, this is the 3rd time I have bought Super Thrive and have lost the top. So I just pour it in a water bottle and keep it moving. And I use a a dropper full of Super Thrive for every gallon of water. So that is my current fertilization. Um, ooh, I lost my word. That's what I'm doing right now. That's my schedule. That's how I water all of my plants with what I just told you, with the exception of my calathea. I use half strength fertilizer, and I think I fertilize every other watering when it comes to my calathea. Okay. All right, so another plant that I have struggled with is this is the Moonstone Miles. And when I got this plant, it had root rot. It arrived in a very, very wet soil substrate. And so it did suffer from root rot. And I didn't think that this plant was going to make it, y'all. I just really didn't think it was going to make it. And it seemed like I heard someone else comment about this, but I'm noticing that for some reason, with some of my Aglaonema, the stem starts to narrow at a certain point. And I don't know what that is about. If you know, please fill me in. But I'm noticing that this one is starting to do that. So I don't know what that is about. But yeah, this one I had to totally regrow. I had to reroot it. But yeah, this one from the beginning has been a struggle for me. It's doing pretty good right now, but I don't know. It has never like really done fantastic for me. So yeah, this is the Moonstone Miles. Okay, another one is this one, and I'm gonna try to find the name for this one, y'all, because I'm always unsure about this one. This is the Rotundum cross with something else. It may be the tricolor, but I'm not for sure. I got this one from Canopy Plants about a year ago. Yes, this is all that I got after a whole year of growing this plant. This plant has been very difficult for me, but I think I have cracked the code on this one. I think that what was happening with this plant is I wasn't giving it enough water. Now see, this is one of the ones that I have that requires a bit more water. I think I'll water this plant like every week and a half. So see, it's kind of, with Aglaonema, the watering can be a little bit tricky. You just kind of have to, it's kind of like trial and error, really it is. But for me, this one has been one of the more thirstier ones. It requires more water, and since I have been giving it more water, it is doing a lot better than what it was. It's giving me a new leaf. Like this one will come out and another one will follow. So it seems to be doing pretty well. But this is a beautiful one. I love plants that have the camouflage print on the leaves. This one was a very expensive one too. I think, I'm not even gonna say how much I paid for this one. Okay. So there's that one, and then this one, y'all. This is one that I got like I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago too. This is the Siam Jade Variegated, and it was rotting. It was suffering from root rot, and I discovered that because the leaves were just starting to brown and the plant just, or yellow, and the plant was just not really growing well for me. So I do have it under one of the grow lights, and I did have to, I just cut the plant and I'm just going to reroot it because it was getting leggy and it was losing its bottom leaves. And I know that it was not uh, a lighting situation because, like I said, since I've had it under the grow light. It was definitely root rot, and that's why I just chopped it. And you can see some of the um, growth points as trying to reactivate already. So I think this plant will do fine. When I do have to reroot my aglaonema, I always add Super Thrive. I think it's like 1 drop per every 4 ounces. And look at this. Y'all, look at that. That water is full of gnats. I don't know if y'all can see that. But anyway, yeah, I'm currently struggling with this one. So we'll see how it does. It really is a beautiful plant. This is another one that was not cheap at all. It kind of puts me in the mind of a smaller, is it the Big Ben? Is that what it's called? Or is that a Dieffenbachia? I think that might be a Dieffenbachia. But for some reason, the leaves kind of remind me of that plant. But it's very beautiful plant. So I I believe that I will be able to save this one because the leaves still look really good. They don't feel soft. They feel firm. They feel healthy. So I think this one will be okay. All right. So another one that I'm struggling with, y'all. This is the green papuma. This is a newer aglaonema as well. This is a less common aglaonema, but I am seeing it more and more. For whatever reason, this one may need higher light, and maybe that's why it's doing this. But the leaves keep yellowing. This is like the 4th leaf that has yellowed and came off in the last 4 or 5 months. This is like the 4th leaf. It is growing. As you can see, there's another growth point. And I think it's given me like 2 new leaves since I think this may be the 3rd leaf. But what I'm discovering with this one is I believe that this plant needs more light and it likes more water. I think I was letting it dry out too much. And so this one for me has been a thirstier aglaonema. If any of you have the green papuma, please let me know down in the comments if you have found this plant to be on the thirstier side. It's a very beautiful plant. I love it because I like the shape of the leaves. I like the round leaf of it all, okay? So I really love this one. I am going to change its location and put it under higher light to see if that helps. But like I said, I know for a fact that this plant for me has been on the thirstier side. So this is the green papuma. Let me go faster because this video is lasting a lot longer than I anticipated. Okay, so this is one. Y'all know how you say, have you heard the expression 3 times is the charm, or 3 something like that? 3 times is that a saying? I think it is. Anyway, this is the 3rd time, y'all, I done had this plant. I will not be repurchasing this plant if it does not make it. This is the golden powder. For me, y'all, this plant, every time I get it, I rot it. I'm not talking about dry rot. I'm talking about rot from overwatering. I didn't think I was overwatering this plant, but obviously I was. I was overwatering this plant. And so what was happening was the leaves that were like in the more towards the center of the plant, you would see like in the center of the plant a browning, like right here. And I think that is a telltale sign of root rot. And so the leaves would just start to soften. They would get soft and brown and just come off. So when I got this one, it came in, I noticed that it came in a very, very chunky mix. So I actually left it in that mix for like the first, I just recently repotted this plant, I think last week. So like for the first 4 or 5 months that I had this plant, I just left it alone and I bottom watered it. I just let it absorb what it wanted to absorb. So I did repot it and it's in a chunkier mix than all my other Aglaonema. And I still bottom water this plant. This is the golden powder. Once again, let me know in the comments if you all have struggled with this plant as well. And it's a shame because it's a really beautiful plant. I mean, and that's why this is my third time repurchasing, because it's such a beautiful plant and the price is very reasonable. But I just struggle with this plant. So this one is doing well so far. It's doing okay. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep bottom watering it and just making sure that I don't overwater. Golden powder, y'all. Okay, so this is one that seems to be a fan favorite. I saw on another YouTuber's video that she was saying that she cannot find this plant. I have not been able to find it either. I don't know what the deal is. This is an Aglaonema chocolate. I got this plant a little over a year ago and I got it from an Etsy seller. The seller had 2 left and I got one. From that point on, y'all, I have not been able to find this plant. And I was so scared because this plant did very well for me for a long time. This is the Aglaonema chocolate. Then all of a sudden, it just started to tank. Now, this particular one, I do believe that this one has some type of mite because I definitely was not overwatering it. The roots were not rotting, I don't believe. So I think it had some type of insect that was attacking it. I didn't see anything on the leaves. I was always checking the leaves. But anyway, yes, I have really struggled with this plant. So this is what's left. And it is coming back slowly but surely. This is the newest leaf. Very beautiful plant. This is the newest leaf. And then this one is about to open up and then it has another one. So like I said, I have searched high and low for this plant and I cannot find it. Whenever I see it, it's out of stock. And I don't know if they're not restocking it. I don't know what the issue is with this plant. But this is the Aglaonema chocolate, a very beautiful plant. I'm glad that I was able to save it. I'm not going to get too happy just yet, but I'm like literally babying this plant. So this is the Aglaonema chocolate. Okay. So I think that's all that I have on the table. So, okay, this is another one that I'm not really for sure what's going on with this one. It's just not thriving any longer for me. This is the Aglaonema Wishes. This plant used to be a lot fuller, but as you can see, oh girl, she's starting to get stalky and stemmy. I don't like that. She's lost a lot of her bottom leaves. I believe that I may have been overwatering this one. I'm really not for sure, but I'm trying to be more careful and more conscientious when it comes to watering this plant. But it just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't look good. It used to be a lot fuller and the colors to me were more vibrant. Excuse me. What I might do, because I've done this before, I think I'm going to get another one and pot it up with this one. Maybe one that's like I guess more, I don't want a starter plant, but I want a smaller one to kind of fill in the bottom. Because I'm going to show you another plant that I did that with that looks a whole lot better. But yeah, this is the wishes. Like I said, I really don't know what's going on with this plant. Um, but at least it's not losing any more leaves. Now I am seeing this. Let's see, I may be still overwatering this plant. Do y'all see that that on the leaf? It's like a crispy piece. Y'all see that? And then I think I saw it on another leaf. Oh yeah, right here. See that? So I don't know. I might be overwatering this one. Let me know what y'all experience has been with the Aglaonema wishes. Okay, so the plant that I was talking about, you know what? I don't think I have it over here. But I also did it with this plant. Okay, so this is the Moonstone Miles, y'all. And it's not giving what I wanted to give. Okay, so I'm about to tell y'all what happened with this one. Okay, so I had the plant, I had one, and that's the one that you see at the bottom, that the leaves look all droopy and sick. I was trying to reroot this one. I did reroot it, and then I put it in the bottom of this one. Now this one is relatively new. I've had this one, the bigger one, about a month. But what happened was I ordered it from an Etsy seller that lived in Florida. And for some reason, this plant got stuck in the mail. It took like almost 3 weeks, y'all, for me to get this plant. And so when I got it, you could just tell that it had been affected and stressed out from being in transit for so long. So I immediately had to take off like 7 leaves that were dead. Yeah. And see, that's why it's looking leggy already at the bottom, because I had to remove those leaves. So I said, well, let me put the one that I'm trying to reroot, since it did have some roots. I said, I'm going to put mine at the bottom. And it's just not looking good. You see how the leaves are kind of just floppy, and so I don't know. I might have to take this one back out and get it reestablished before I put it back in the bottom of this one. But it is a beautiful plant. Like I said, I was a little bit disappointed because of how it arrived. It was no fault of the sellers. Like I said, it just, was in transit for too long. But I really love this one. It really reminds me a lot of the Aglaonema chocolate for some reason. Let's make a comparison of the leaves. Let me see. I got too much going on this table. Okay, so this is the Aglaonema chocolate leaf, and then this is the Moonstone Miles. A little bit, except the Moonstone Miles has like the pink stems and the pink edging. But it kind of has a very similar pattern to the leaves. But yeah, I'm kind of struggling with this one, y'all. Like I said, I'm going to take this piece out of the bottom to see what's going on. I might have to let it root up a little bit better before I add it back to the pot. But it is really a beautiful plant. This is the Moonstone Miles. Okay. This one, it's really not doing anything bad per se. The problem is it's just not doing anything. So I don't know if this is a slow growing plant in general, but this is the Spathanema. And I started off with just this plant, And I just was not liking the sparseness of it all. Y'all know I like my plants to be nice and full. So I purchased another one and I potted them up together to give the plant a little bit of a fuller look, but it's not growing. It is not growing. Like it has not given me a new leaf in a while, in a couple of weeks. So I don't know what that's about. So if you have this plant, let me know if this has been a slow grower for you. Because yeah, it's not really doing much for me. And I don't know what that's about. Mm, spilling stuff. But I love the plant, just can't really get it to grow. All right. So, you know what? I'm not going to show you that one because that's a newer one. At the end of my at the end of my part 2, where I show you my easier Aglaonema, I will also show you a couple of new ones that you haven't seen. Okay, so this one I have struggled with because it rotted on me. This is the second Etta Rose. Is it Etta Rose? I think so. That I have had. This is the second one. The first one that I had rotted because I think I overwatered this plant. So this is one that I have to really pull back on the watering. It's a beautiful plant though. I just look, it's just beautiful. But, you know, in my case, like I said, I let this one almost dry completely out before I rewater. So that is the Etta Rose. Now, my Aglaonema, you know, I know a lot of the species come from Thailand, Indonesia, and places like that where the humidity is like 1,000%. But in my case, like during these months, like right now, the humidity is 64% out here, and it gets higher towards the evening. So sometimes in the morning, I'll come out here and the humidity will be like in the 80s. Um, so during spring and summer, the humidity out here is really, most of the time, is really good. But during the winter months, when it's less humid, sometimes the humidity goes down to like 20 and 30%. But it doesn't seem to affect my Aglaonema. So if you're wondering about humidity, what my experience has been is that they pretty much go with the flow when it comes to humidity. It seems like they can tolerate all different types of ranges of humidity. But since they are tropical plants, of course, they probably will do even better in a more humid environment. Okay. Um, I think I got 3 more to show you. So this is the Golden Madonna. And this one is doing very well for me. But guess what? This is my second Golden Madonna. Yeah, the first one rotted. I think I overwatered it. So are you noticing a common theme? If you don't take anything away from this video, take that away. That you have to be careful with watering Aglaonema. You have to be careful. So this is the Golden Madonna. And like I said, with the exception of a few that I've showed you, I let this one dry 3/4 of the way out. This one is more on the vocal side than many of my other ones because when this one needs to be watered, the leaves will start to curl a little bit and droop. And so that has been the way that I know that it needs to be watered. I did have a water meter that I was using, but I dropped it and it broke. So I'm back to using my finger, and I also use, which I got from I can't remember who it may, can't remember who, but I know some of you use like a kind of like a stick, like a chopstick, and you kind of stick it down in the substrate. And when you bring it back up, if it has a lot of substrate stuck to it, to the end, that could mean that it's not ready to be watered again. But if you stick it down there and it comes out completely clean and dry, kind of like cake, you know, when you're fixing cake or cornbread, you stick the toothpick or whatever in, and when you bring it out, if it's still like moist, too moist on the end, that lets you know it needs to cook longer. But anyway, so that's what I have been doing to kind of gauge when they need to be watered. I do plan on buying another water meter though, because I feel like they help me out. I know some of you are kind of, you kind of feel like they don't work as well as they should. The thing that I will say about that is I think it depends on the degree of the chunkiness of the soil or the substrate. I think it can be kind of iffy with a chunkier substrate, but I feel like it has helped me, you know, but I'm just speaking for myself. So I will be purchasing another one. So far so good with this one. Like I said, this is my second one. So I have definitely pulled back on the water because I love this one. The price is very reasonable, and it does very well, the Golden Madonna. Okay. So this one, and you would be surprised because this is a more common Aglaonema. This is the Tigress. I think it's also called the Maria Aglaonema, but I did purchase. I had one, and it wasn't, to me, the plant wasn't full enough, so I ended up purchasing another plant. But this one has lost a lot of leaves. This is the only Aglaonema that I have had that I have discovered and been 100% sure, because I know I said with the chocolate that I suspected possibly some mite issues, but I didn't actually see any mites. But this one, I saw a mealybug on this one, and I eradicated the heck out of that one mealybug. I sprayed the plant down. I put systemic in the substrate, the Bonai systemic. I was not playing. Y'all already know how I feel about them mealybugs. Okay, I will link the video where, you know, I was talking about some mealybug activity that I have had in the past. I will link that video if you want to check it out. But I think what happened with this one is I think I overwatered this plant, and I also feel like this is one that does not like to be moved. I don't keep this one out here. I keep this one in my living room in front of the window, and it gets I would say it gets more light than the ones that I keep out here. So it seems like this plant prefers higher light, because I noticed that when I moved it out here, it started to decline even more. And then that's when I discovered the mealybug, because it may have been stressed out from being moved. So some plants, they don't like to be moved. If they're doing well where they are, I suggest you try to leave them where they are, if at all possible, especially if they're thriving and doing well. So this one seems like it's trying to make a comeback. Like I said, I've pulled back on the watering, and I will not be moving it from where it's at. Okay. So last but not least, didn't I say I was going to show you? Well, I'll show you that one in a minute. This is one of my favorite Aglaonema of all times. This is have it in this little basket, but this is my orange stardust. Now, when I first got this plant, it was when it was still is expensive, but the price has come down a little bit. It was very expensive, y'all. And it was just this plant that I had, because it's two in the pot. Well, three. You know, this little piece, I don't even know if that's actually orange stardust. I think that might be a quorum or something from another Aglaonema. But anyway, there's two plants in here. This is the one, let's see, that I had first. And it was starting to decline. And with this one, I really don't know why it was declining. It could have just been not liking my environment. I don't know. And so, as a backup, I got another one for a really good deal. And so I potted them up together a couple of months ago, and the plant is doing very well. But I did struggle with this one in the beginning. So this is the orange stardust. This one does seem to prefer higher lighting conditions. So if you have struggled with this particular one, you might want to see if it does better in higher light. Because like I said, I really don't know what the issue was with this plant, but it just was not doing well for me in the beginning. Okay. So let me get up and show you this other one. Okay, y'all. So this is my red emerald. And this is the one that I had first. This little piece right here in the front. And it started to go downhill. And it started kind of doing the same thing as the chocolate Aglaonema. So I don't know if it had some type of pest or something that I wasn't aware of. But I had to end up taking it out of the substrate, and I kept it in water for a couple of months until the roots grew out more and it grew stronger. So see, that's why this piece is doing better than the piece of the Moonstone Miles, is because this one was better. I think the roots, it had more roots, and that's why this piece is doing better. So I really like this plant, so I end up ordering another one. And so I combined them. And so now the plant looks a lot fuller now. But this is the red emerald. It seems like I've seen it called something else. But it's doing good now. But like I said, I did struggle with this plant in the beginning. Okay, y'all, so that is it. I think I pretty much covered everything about their care. But if you have any other questions or things that I didn't address, please feel free to ask me in the comments anything that you would like to know about my Aglaonema care. In my next, it may not be the next video, but the next video in this Aglaonema series will be the ones that have been a breeze for me, that have not given me any trouble. So you definitely don't want to miss that one, especially if you're getting on the Aglaonema bandwagon and you're looking for some varieties that you might want to get. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I appreciate you all so much returning. If you've made it to the end of this video, I really, really appreciate you. I always appreciate you, even when you don't watch the whole video. Because just taking the time, at all, I appreciate it, because you don't have to. You don't have to take the time to watch my videos. So I really appreciate it. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. If you have had some Aglaonema that you have struggled with or are struggling with, let me know in the comments. I hope this video was a little bit helpful for you all that are struggling with Aglaonema. And make sure you tune in for part 2. Okay? All right, y'all. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this content, um, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I also said I was going to show you something that I'm doing to help with the fungus gnats, but this video is already long, so I'll show you in the next video what I'm doing to win the battle against the fungus gnats. But yes, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And check me out on Instagram for more planty content, okay? All right, y'all. You take care. And until the next time, hooked on houseplants, y'all. Bye.